And the Senate this week passed a bill that was seeking to prescribe improved salaries, allowances, and fringe benefits of judicial office holders in Nigeria by 300%. Now, this development followed the adoption of a report of the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights, and Legal Matters, presented by the chairman of the committee, Senator Mohammed Monguno. The bill provides a total monthly package of about 5.4 million naira for the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Justices of the Supreme Court are to earn a total package of 4.2 million naira, while the President of the Court of Appeal is to earn a total monthly package of about 4.5 million naira. Human rights lawyer and former president of the Committee for the Defense of Human Rights, Malachy Ugwumadu, joins us now to discuss this impending pay rise for judges and how it can improve the justice sector for accelerated dispensation of justice. Good to have you on the program this afternoon. Thank you for joining us on Newsday.
Always my pleasure, Hawa. Good to be here. Good afternoon, viewers.
Good afternoon. Well, what do you make of, first of all, the timing of the presentation of this package and also the benefits, the future of what it could do for the justice system and the dispensation of justice in our current climate?
Well, again, thank you. But we need to clear a few grounds. The first is that it is the recommendation of the Senate arising from the Senate Committee on Human Rights, Judiciary, and Legal Matters, headed by Senator Ibrahim Mohammed Monguno. They have submitted their report. Do not forget that we operate a bicameral legislation in which you have the House of Representatives and the Senate all making up the National Assembly, presupposing some concurrence before legislations are passed. We needed to say that just so that it is clear to the Nigerian public that it is not yet a done deal. But the point is clear. This proposal, this report, points in the direction of a determination of a government, albeit the legislature, to guarantee and enhance the remuneration package of the judicial officers, particularly the justices and judges of various courts in the land. That is a welcome development, and it's been long coming. On record, the last time there was a review of the salaries and allowances, general emolument of judicial officers was around 2007, November precisely. If you take account of what has happened in the economy of Nigeria, particularly the inflationary trend and the general economic implication of the judicial sector, you will find that this has been long overdue. And I think it dovetailed into the general reform strategy initiated by the Attorney General or driven by the Attorney General and an initiative of this present government. With respect to this particular development, there is some air of excitement in the judiciary, in the judicial sector, and in the bar as well, such that many of the challenges we have faced in the past, particularly regarding the integrity and independence of the judiciary, a major milestone, a major cornerstone of democracy itself, is believed to come alive if we eventually see through these reforms that have been initiated. And come to think of it, statistics have shown that even around the African country and African continent, we were about the least paid judges and judicial officers. That was not just embarrassing. It was a very retrogressive development to note. The reason I put it that way is that in the years past, even before independence, Nigerian judges and justices have superintended and headed the judicial systems of most of these African countries, Botswana, Uganda, and so on and so forth, where Nigerian judges have had to operate even at the level of the chief judge or justice of those respective countries. Now, if we outsourced our judicial officers and had them superintend at the level of the highest judicial office in those respective countries, there shouldn't be any reasons why we should not be at our best, including the remuneration package. But what is more, it is that to a very large extent, the incidents or the ugly knowledge of corruption in the judiciary will largely be checked by this development. If we get this through and have the president assent to this bill ultimately, then any judge or judicial officer found wanting with respect to cases of bribery and corruption should have his or herself to blame. That's my personal position. You could say that that is not the best in the world, but it is a remarkable improvement considering where we are as a nation. But I'd like to end on this call by saying that what you see happening is kickstarting a process. These are inputs from stakeholders regarding the salaries and allowances of judicial officers. Ideally and constitutionally, it is not the National Assembly that fixes the salaries and allowances of justices and judges of our various courts. That responsibility is squarely that of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. And I'm referencing section 153 and the first schedule to the third schedule. And particularly, if you look at section 84 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it enumerates all of these public office holders whose salaries and allowances are to be fixed by that executive body created under section 153, known as the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. That point is very important because as it is, it could say that the National Assembly have come with their own report. We all know that the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Prince Lateef Fagbemi, is driving a serious reform in the justice sector. And that includes, but not limited to, the review of the salaries and the allowances of judicial officers. So you could see that from all ends, there are push, there are moves, and there are now indications that this lingering aspect of our national life is to be attended to sooner than we all expect it. I think it's a good sign, it's a good development. It will check quite a number of things, and it will guarantee the independence and impartiality, even integrity of the judiciary in Nigeria. And that is crucial for democracy itself. There are parameters, there are known thresholds of any democratic dispensation. It includes independence and impartiality of the judiciary. That independence includes that they cannot be found, cap in hand, begging for funds from the executive. And as we see this come, we welcome the development. We urge that the entire process should go its whole hog, so that we deal with this with finality this time around.
Well, thank you very much for that. But some analysts believe that there's a bit of double standard, in this matter, with the National Assembly weighing in on the issue of pay rise for judicial office holders, But at the same time, we have this standoff between the federal government and organized labor on the issue of minimum wage. Shouldn't the National Assembly also toe the same line? Or is it that the judicial workers are more important than ordinary Nigerians?
I thank you for this reflection. I'm only conscripted or constrained by the time. Otherwise, that should be a first salvo from my own end, being a pro-labor activist myself. I do think that that should not be lost on the government itself. But more importantly, it is squarely the agitation of the Nigerian workers to ensure an improvement in their pay rise. This time around, minimum wage. And there is some semblance, some striking semblance between what is happening now and even the effort to increase the allowances of the judges. Both of them, from the Minimum Wage Act and the constitutional provision that I have referenced, they all have 5 years within which to review those allowances and pay and salaries. However, in Nigeria, whereas I've talked about the last review in 2007, November precisely, that of labor had expired some months ago. So it is never a proactive decision of successive government. In fact, it signals an irresponsive government to be reminded continuously about these increases, whether on the part of workers or on the part of judicial officers. But I guess that what can cure all of this is our government should move faster. We all recognize what the challenges are. But where you are able to deal with the economy in accordance with the fundamental objectives and directive principle of state policy, particularly with respect to the economic policies of the state, and the guarantee that the economy is run in such a way as to bring about happiness and fulfillment and satisfaction to the greater number of the populations of this country. That way, you will not have this level of agitation, because then it will mean that the purchasing power of the wages paid and the money dispensed to public officers will be able to carry them home, as we say in this part of the country. But your point is very crucial, because the government needs to carry both challenge simultaneously and fire from all cylinders. You have seen it. Labour has demonstrated, even when people have a lot of reservations, the Labour have demonstrated that it is completely impracticable for a government to ignore what workers are entitled to. Mark my word, are entitled to. These wages are their entitlement. And where you discountenance it, and on the contrary, promote the culture of profligacy, where a member of the National Assembly goes home with a single car, a single SUV car, running into 150 million naira per person, calculated along the line of the numbers of House of Representatives and Senate, you would know that a people will not take the excuses you give them, except you come to their level at this minimal level of their demand. So I guess the point I'm making is that the government cannot afford other than to pursue the two challenges simultaneously and ensure that justice really is done in relation to the wages dispensed to Nigerian workers, whether labor workers or judicial office holders.
Very well said in the timing that we have. Do you also think that improvement needs to be made in the area of technology? It's one thing to improve the payments for the judges, but in the manner in which they dispense the justice, that can be improved as well.
Well, that can come with that being said. it is given. No one can discountenance the place of technology and IT and the general infrastructure of technological innovation in the dispensation of. In fact, let me tell you, as a practicing lawyer, that quite a number of courts have adopted technology, including virtual hearings, including uploading through electronic means processes that were otherwise, before now, have to be done manually and so on and so forth. But the greater speed in the dispensation of justice that will be recorded will come when the judiciary fully embraces technology, as you have said it. What does it take? Funding. How will it become operationalized? Training. How will you become specialized in it? More training. And I guess that there are quite a number of efforts in the line or on the line to ensure that this comes through. My recommendation would be that we should look at other jurisdictions and find the time we waste in terms of period of dispensation of justice in our country and understand the urgency of this technological advancement. Whether we like it or not, the world has moved on. There's hardly anything anyone can do about it other than literally compelling all of us to key in and ensure that, come to think of it, even the judges will have less health challenges. I mean, you can imagine where you have a recorder in a court of law and just oppose that with where you have to write down every single word, whether relevant or irrelevant, said in the proceedings of a court. That alone, let alone trying to understand what was written and how it was written, imposes enormous. I don't envy them. I've had cause to commend a lot of judges. If you get to see what we push in there by way of submissions and written addresses on everything, including application for extension of time, as little as that, you will know that these judges, the good ones, are going through very Herculean periods and time. And technology is the way to go.
Well, I love the fact that you actually emphasized, the good ones. Mr. Malachy Ugwumadu, human rights lawyer, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.